Hey everyone, Ken Rakowski. It is Metal International, of course. On Thursdays, which is today, we do Metal Mentoring, where we pick one of the incredible speakers that we've got to experience on a Saturday, and we bring them over to learn their tips, tricks, and knowledge on to enhance what we're doing in the world of business. This week, his book is coming off as a great big hit. How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. Stu Heinecke is joining us. Stu, Seattle, right?
Well, close. Whidbey Island.
So you live on
Seattle.
an island.
Sorry?
You live on an island. You have to take like a ferry back and forth?
I don't go to Seattle much, so if I did, I would, yeah. But
you would go to the autonomous zone up there in Seattle.
I would, yeah. It's like we call it going to America when we're leaving the island, actually.
Do you think where you're at allows you to be more creative because you've removed all the noise?
You know, I saw an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal, and I saw it this morning. I think it came out a couple of days ago, though. And it was saying, people were saying, why do I need to live here? Essentially, if I'm working from home, so why do I need to live here? And it's like they're catching up with my secret or our secret, because, you know, for a long time, you haven't had to live anywhere in particular, unless you have to be in a particular office location. So, you know, I think being in a place where you just feel, I mean, when we drive around this island, it's just so gorgeous. I mean, it's just this long, irregularly shaped island. So it's really skinny, and you get to the water. The water's nearby all the time. And it's, you know, it's either these tall forests, you know, like Douglas fir, 150-foot Douglas fir forests, or farm. And it goes right to the edge of I would say right to the edge of the water, but really right to the edge of the cliff mostly.
Wow. And
down to the water. And it's just beautiful. I just love living here. So
it creates an opportunity for just being creative, right?
Yeah, I think it is a good thing. I mean, I think you should be able to do it anywhere, but certainly it's if you're feeling happy about where you are, that's a good thing.
And tell us, pre-COVID, what was your job any different than now? Were you always working remote?
Oh yeah. I've always been working remote, so it was nothing. The only thing is that now I don't even go into town. So it changed a little bit. But, you know, I think what changed in terms of getting meetings is that when people started working from home, they stopped traveling quite so much. They weren't spending a lot of time in airports and on planes and out of town, and they weren't, they're not even commuting. So I knew that people would have a lot of free time, and they'd get perhaps a little bored after they got used to being at home and working on Zoom and so on. And I knew that this would actually be a time, really sort of a chance of a lifetime to connect with people that you probably, or you might not have connected with otherwise. So it's actually been a really busy time for me.
Yeah.
Because of that.
What a great time to launch a book all around getting a meeting with anyone. Let's step back real quick. Wall Street Journal, cartoonist. You told us some things on Saturday on some of the ways you would actually reach out to people by giving them audacious gifts. But yeah. What led to the direction of writing a book? Why did you feel like it's time for me to write a book?
Well, you know, so yeah, on Saturday I told the story of how I started. I wanted to start a business. I wanted to create direct mail campaigns for the big magazine publishers, and I wanted to use cartoons and personalization, and I knew it would work. And so my chance to break through was I created a test for Rolling Stone and Bon Appetit. Both of those beat the controls. So I sent a little contact campaign, and I broke through. Well, the thing that led me to write the book was, you know, at first I was thinking, well, aren't I cool? I have a secret weapon. These cartoons get me through to anyone.
Right.
But then I realized, well, wait a minute. Everybody faces the same challenge, and it's a challenge that's existed since we've existed. You know, in fact, I got really interested. What is everyone else doing to break through? And I discovered there's this whole shadow form of marketing out there. People were doing all kinds of crazy. Well, I don't know if I should call them crazy, but they're just audacious things, really, really interesting things to break through. So that's what led to it. I just realized, wow, there's a whole shadow form of marketing here, and I've got to write about it.
But the key is to not just make the meeting, but it's a hot meeting. It's not a warm introduction. It's like, oh yeah, you're that guy. You're that one who did that. And then you have to be memorable, right?
Yeah, I think you want people saying, It's always been my goal with these is, oh my God, I love the way, who is this guy? I love the way you think. This is incredible. And if you arranged a meeting in that way, then that is a hot meeting. It's not a cold meeting, certainly. It's not a cold call. It's someone really curious about who you are and really impressed, enamored with the way that you think. So yeah, that's a completely different way to walk into a meeting.
So hey, everyone, if you got a question for Stu, put it inside the chat. I'll unmute you. We're talking about the idea of how to get a meeting with anyone. That's Stu's book. That's his focus. My goal on this call, guys, is for you to really understand what it takes to utilize these tools. And number two, let's get Stu as a metal member. That's my second objective here, okay? So Stu,
Cool.
writing a book is pretty audacious, isn't it?
It's a big undertaking, that's for sure.
Yeah, tell, because I'm looking at doing it too. Being writing for a publication, you already had one step forward. You get that, but how long did it take from the idea to getting it published? What was the time parameter there?
Whew. Well, the thing is, and I don't know what your book's about. Maybe we can talk about it offline. I'd love to do that. I'd love to help in any way I can. But
Appreciate it.
the first step, if it's a business book, certainly that's a nonfiction book. And the publishers expect, if you're going the traditional route, then the publishers expect a proposal. And that proposal it's sort of half business plan and half preview into the book. So you have to provide, let's say, the first few chapters. They want to see how you write and how it's going to progress, how engaging it is. But they also want to have a whole business plan. Who are you? What's your platform? What's the marketing plan? Why should this book exist? How does it compare to other books? What other books are out there? What do you compare it to? So there's that whole thing. That takes, like, when you finish that, you feel like you've already written the book, because that's a big job.
Because you did all the due diligence now to see what competitive books that are out there were similar to your topic. Was your initial topic the same as what your end topic was? Did it mature into something different?
It turned out to be exactly what I had planned to do, but the title changed. So my working title was Breaking Through. And when I ended up talking, so then, after you do these proposals, your agent shops or pitches those, and then eventually you end up in interviews with these publishers. And so during the interview with the publisher that ended up being the publisher of the book, he said, no, let's call it How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. I said, okay, man, that's perfect. That's it.
Because Breaking Through is a bit nebulous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not as compelling.
And then a few of my friends launched books during this COVID time, and they go, damn it, worst time I could have ever done it. Was it
Really?
like that for you too?
No, well, I mean, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone launched in 2016.
Oh God,
so it's been around a while.
Great then. You didn't have
so COVID, there was no effect from COVID, I know of. But the newer one, the yellow one, Get the Meeting. I'll hold it up for a second. This one launched in October last year.
Okay, timing too.
So yeah, I think that was good timing. I have another one coming up, and timing's a big deal. But
dude, you're a book machine.
I love doing this. This is a great process. I love that whole process of discovery is unbelievable. It's so incredible.
So what's the third book? What's the third book?
The next one's going to be called The Weed Strategies. I got to interview you. We got to make sure we get you in there too. But it's called The Weed Strategies. It's a growth model based on what weeds do. And so I want that to launch let's say the last week in April or first week in May, because that's when all the weeds are coming out in the Northern Hemisphere. They'll be my memes. So it can have a big effect.
It's interesting. I'm looking at the people that are on this call right now. We have from doctors to people running networks to content creators. I mean, it's a really good list of people that are popping in here. I want you to think about not the idea of just meeting anyone, but securing a real meaningful connection, securing it. So not about a meeting. There's a difference. How do you secure a meaningful connection?
Well, I think, this might be another book too, because I keep talking about creating flip moments, because certainly one type of flip moment is when someone goes from who's this to, wow, who is this? And so I know that you want that to happen. And so I mean, I think some of it comes from just people get to know you and it takes time, but you don't really, in this case, we don't want to take a lot of time. We want to get a meeting and we want to make it happen. Then we want to speed up that process. So I think that you start by doing something that has people just saying, wow, unbelievable. I can't believe the way you think. Remember in Saturday, I held up Kevin Mitnick's card.
Yep, of course.
Right. So, and I'm going to hold it up right now, but Kevin hands this out and you just go, who is this guy? Right.
You're right.
Because I was like, who comes up with this? Who comes up with stuff like that?
This is my business card. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong one. Blockbuster.
Blockbuster.
No. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Your back of your business card are companies that don't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So Kevin, you're right. You meet Kevin, he hands out that card, and the card cost him, I think, was like $3 each or something like that.
Yeah.
He hands out that card, and you want to keep that card and show it off.
Exactly.
It's memorable.
And there was another one that I came across. I only have the material, but this one guy had a card made up on this a sheet of rubber. So you can see it stretches. It's kind of hard to stretch, actually, this one. But so he had his contact details printed on the card, but it was on a jig first. So it's stretched and then printed. And then they waited for the ink to dry, cure, so forth. Take it off, and returns to its original shape and size. And he said, okay, so he these moments when you meet someone and we want to impress people with our cards.
Well, it kind of sucks a little too, because us being old school, cards are still important to us, but this younger generation, they don't have business cards. They don't even think that way.
Yeah, I know, but I'm going to be talking, where I'm really going with this is pocket campaigns. And everyone ought to want one of these. But so anyway, so that this little card, he was telling me that every time, let's say he's hanging out at a pub and he gets to talking with someone, and people get excited. What do you do? What do you do? And well, here's my card. And then he whipped this little floppy things out, and he'd say, here's my card. And people naturally, they grab it, they stretch it, because otherwise they can't read it. When they stretch it, it reveals it's Paul Nielsen's card. He's a fitness trainer. And guess what? He already has you exercising. So
brilliant.
He's sampling what it's like to work out with him. It's not just a business card. It's not something printed on fancy stock with gold foil and embossing. This is a functional engagement device. And the younger people ought to want these as well. And we went as far in the yellow book, in this guy, I talked about pocket campaigns, because business cards younger folks are right. Business cards are just kind of dead. They're inert. But if we did something like this, so now it's a multi-tool. I mean, it's the size and thickness of a credit card.
It's a work of art.
Well, it's a cool thing and it's useful. So, there's a bottle opener and a wrench and all this. It's a multi-tool you can you can keep it in your wallet. And you have that for emergencies. So here's the thing. There's no directions. You don't quite know how to use it. There's a URL on the back that says, for tool directions and a video, go here. That's where you set a pixel, you set a tracking pixel, and now all of a sudden you can remarket these people, or by retargeting, suddenly just by handing them your card, you're now all over the web, wherever they go. Wow. So business cards don't do that, but pocket campaigns do, and they incorporate this jump jump page that sets a tracking pixel and then sets up this digital persistence
pocket campaigns. That's the term. Yeah. Let's go to Sunny. I'm going to unmute you. Hey, Sunny, I think you have the same situation that many of us are, and that is what?
What I said in the chat was, if I can't quickly scan a business card, it ends up in the trash can.
Yeah.
Right. So an alternative, what we have done in my company is that we bought these little business card shaped USB drives. We loaded our content on it. It looks like a business card, but it's a USB drive. You're not going to throw away a USB drive.
You're not going to throw it out.
Yes.
And that was a success at expos and trade shows, things like that.
See, that's a good thing, and that involves that gets people more involved. I think you should not be handing out business cards, but hand out involvement devices. And
I
let
like
those,
that. What I do, just so you know, by the way, my book is all around connections. I've interviewed over 20,000 people, and I've spoken at all these events, and I've learned how to actually connect with people. So one thing I realized, the minute I get a card, I use Evernote, which you probably have seen.
yeah,
I scan in the card, it automatically links us in LinkedIn, and then it sends them an email. I have it set up for the night to say, hey, it was great to meet you. And I GPS locate that card.
oh my God.
So whenever I'm in,
Wow.
let's say, Singapore or Dubai, I go say all the cards I scanned in Dubai, let's see if they're in Dubai, and then I reach out to them one before I get there.
That's incredible.
So,
That's an incredible thing.
but it's all inside Evernote. It's part of Evernote. So
Wow.
look at that. Let's go over, hey, to Brandon. Brandon, I'm unmuting you. What is your question to Stu? Wait, unmuted, go for it. Try it again.
Okay, I guess it wasn't a question, just a.
Oh, hey, Brandon.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Brandon, okay.
Yeah, so it was just a thought. Like I stopped taking cards a long time ago because I got tired of people just handing out cards. And what I do now is, like, if I really want to connect with someone, I literally just be like, hey, here's my number. Like, I'll give them, I actually get their number. So then once I have their number, I can follow up right away and text them. But I guess one thought, like just how Stu and I met, just I think there's a lesson here. So Stu, I requested to connect with him on LinkedIn, and then he responded to me. And the reason why I connected is one of my buddies interviewed him for a podcast show. And I remember reading his book or listening to it. It was like 4 years ago. I loved it. And so when I responded back, and here's one way actually how people connect with others. People love books. And if you write a book and somebody gets a personal experience from it, they want to talk to you.
Yep.
So I said, hey, I love your book. I've utilized it. And then that led to us doing a call, and then obviously him speaking here. But
well, you brought him to metal.
Yeah. So just like
that's
that.
Brandon. Yeah, that's right. But Brandon, I want to ask you a question. Because I hear that a lot, people they'll say, business cards are old school. By the way, no one should get hung up on the term old school or new school because things change. They are cyclic, and if you're in the new school, if you're not, then what you're doing is you're following trends and you don't stand out. So I always tell those people who say, oh, that's old school. There's no old school or new school. Just use what works. And so if you're in a crowded channel, what's the point of doing that? But Brandon, the thing I want to ask is, when you exchange when you exchange a phone number, do you ever lose them? Do you ever say, oh my God, who was it, that guy? What was his name again?
Oh yeah.
So what I do, I guess what I personally do right away is I will text them right away and say, hey, it's Brandon T. Adams, or I'll say save as Brandon T. Adams. And then I'll go and I'll put the person's name, and then I'll put a dash, and then I'll put where I met them. So like I have thousands of numbers on my phone, and I'll go, and sometimes I forget the person's name, but I remember where we met. So then I'll search based off of that, and then it'll pop up.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one better for you, buddy. This is what I do, Brandon. I grab the person's phone. I may have even done it with yours. And I put my details in there. I take my image picture and I change the ringtone and text tone when I call and when I text them. So I own
You do a whole setup.
I own my contact in their phone. So it sounds different. It's what the hell is, and they look at it right away. I think I did it to your phone, Brandon. When
You might have. That's unique.
That's funny.
Always want to make sure I own the experience of when I come to their device. By the way, guys, Stu's here for you guys. Ask questions inside the chat, which I'm going to get to. Thank you, Brandon. I'm going to go to Mr. Gary Scher, who is your neighbor, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're just talking about him.
Gary is right up there. He's what do you guys call yourselves? Washingtonians?
Well, we could. I don't.
That's no fun. Seattleites?
Yeah.
He doesn't like Seattle.
Chaz residents?
Chaz.
That's what we call it.
Okay, so, yeah, Stu, what I'm wondering is, I've been in the tech industry a long, long time, and everybody's been trying to digitize, business cards, and there's always been various solutions. And in fact, the first one I ever heard about was from Ken. Ken, you're going to have to remind me the name of that. It was like some sort of web service that integrated your contacts across multiple.
Plaxo.
Plaxo.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I've tried every one of them, and in the end, from my personal context, this is a side note, I just settled on Gmail, and I got an Android phone, and everything just works. and I've given up trying to keep context elsewhere. But there's a company I came across recently that's trying to reinvigorate sort of the app as the business card. It's called Hi Hello. And I set it up, but I've never actually shared a contact with anyone. And they're a startup, and I don't know how much traction they've got, but they're still going. One thing they did, and I wish I could demo it, is they created for me a Zoom background that has their like QR code for my contact info, but I've only got it on my Mac and I'm on my PC right now, so I need to switch over. But so that way, anytime you're in a Zoom meeting, your contact details are immediately accessible to the person, which is kind of a cool idea. But then the app lets you also, trade contact details with people with scanning a little barcode or QR code. I'm just wondering what you think about digitizing all that.
I just, here's the thing. My experience I'm going to talk about something a little bit different, but my experience of connecting with anyone on LinkedIn is that it's usually about 10 people at a time. And I just I look real quickly, but then click, 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 click. And it's like waving to someone going the other direction on the freeway. It's really a forgettable experience. And I think that's probably true with a lot of these electronic things. It just seems still like we're in a crowded channel. Whereas if someone, I don't know, unless you don't carry a wallet, if someone handed you that, you might keep it. I don't know. Kevin's, I just love Kevin's card. If you were ever handed this, Gary, then someone would, you keep it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God, look at this thing. So I think that's, I don't know. I'm looking for more astonishing experiences than just, for example, what it's like to connect on LinkedIn. And just, I think in general, to connect digitally. It's fun, it's nice and so on, but it just, I'm looking for ways to stand out a lot more. Does that make any sense?
Ken and Stu, quick question.
That's Ron. Hey, Ron, Ron, hey guys, please do this. Do me a favor, question, pop it inside the chat and I'll mute you. Ron, I'll let you go. Go for it.
Thank you for that, Ken. Just a comment. I was looking a few months ago for a different way to save my contacts. I reverted back to what Gary said, and I really just use just my contact thing out of my phone. However, I did find one app called Cove. What it did uniquely is all my contacts, it would scour the internet. So if they work for a company or their name and something hit the news, it would automatically notify me, and it would give me I would be able to respond to them however I wanted in a phone call or an email.
Are you saying close? C-L-O?
C-O-V-E.
Oh, okay. I use close, C-L-O-Z-E, which is a management system like that too.
Yeah. And I haven't really adopted the whole thing, but I found that feature to be pretty incredible because as soon as something happens and you contact that person, you stand out a little bit.
Yeah. I guess the same thing with just Google Alerts, or is it?
Yep.
Is it roughly
but what he's saying, it's all in his contact manager, and it's
okay.
constantly looking. That's pretty powerful, right?
That is really cool.
Okay, yeah. What is it called again?
Double check in case it's got an odd spelling. C-O-V-E, V as in Victor.
C-O-V-E.com?
Here it is. No, double V. Double V. That's it right above my finger.
Got it.
C-O-double-V-E.
Awesome. Good call on that. Let's dive into that one. I appreciate that. And I'm not sure where you want to go, Stu. I'm sorry. We have a tendency to have ADD. We're having fun. So take us where you want to go.
You know what I'd love to do? I'd love to share perhaps a couple of stories that take us in a direction. In fact, I started talking about Dan Waldschmidt. I don't know if I even got as far as showing what he does.
Tell us.
The sword. I mean, so Dan sends these swords.
Oh yeah.
Which I think are really, really cool. So he's a turnaround specialist, and his method for reaching CEOs of companies that are in trouble is he combs the business news every morning for stories of missed earnings estimates. And when he finds one, he has this sword made up. So here it is. This is one of them. And it's made by this is a real sword made by the prop maker who made the swords for the movie Gladiator. And it's engraved with the CEO's name. It goes in a box, a beautiful wooden box, handwritten note that says, "Hey, Bob, I noticed business is war, and I noticed you lost a battle recently. Just wanted to let you know if you ever need a few extra hands in battle, we've got your back." Wow. And he's getting 100% response rate to that thing.
But it's $1,000 a sword.
It's $1,000 a pop, but you know, his engagements are $1 million and up. And he doesn't sell to everyone. I don't mean, but it's $1 million. I'm sorry, it's 100% conversion, but 100% contact rate is incredible, and not all that unusual for contact marketing campaigns.
Wow.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. I mean, it's like, you know, in direct mail, they used to say that first of all, they used to say 1% response rate was a good response, but
Yeah.
there's no real number like that. But you know, if you compare that to that, they also used to say that 100% response rates were impossible, and I guess they are in direct response, but they're not at all in contact campaigns. So that's a pretty cool thing. So that's a visual metaphor. That sword represents the value, really the fierceness that Dan's going to bring to a turnaround assignment. But you don't have to spend $1,000. And so one of my favorite, I love these visual metaphors actually. So one of my favorites, or one of my favorite sources for these is fake food items. So here's one.
I see those on the back of your desk. They're all over the back of your desk.
Isn't that great? So it's a coffee spill, and with my coaching clients, we do these. So I have them make up a custom card, so it has their logo and their contact details, just like a business card actually. But it's something that they use if they're dropping by somewhere and they know they're not going to get through. And this is someone who sells insurance. I don't know if you guys are going to do this, but this is a great visual metaphor for loss or risk mitigation. Anything that could spill. This is a great metaphor for it. And you could pop a Starbucks card in there and say, I'd love to share a cup of coffee with you. I think that all of that's pretty cool stuff. And here's another fake food item. I lost the tip of this thing, it fell, but that's another one. It's these things I wasn't sure if they were using an actual code. It's so real. I mean, so realistic that, until it did this. But
so what's the goal then? You send that to somebody, they open this box up, they get it. Are they waiting? Are you going to contact them to say, hey, did you get it? Or what are you waiting on? What's the next connection point?
That's a great question, because, you know, a lot of this for me stems from what I was doing in direct mail. And in direct mail, there was a business reply card. That was the response device. In contact marketing, I think we are the response device. So it's up to us to reach out. They may reach out to you, but otherwise it's up to us to do it. So so we're making phone calls to follow up.
Got it. So hey, by the way, I just want to let you know, I tried that close, COVVE, and it just said contact limit reached. I can't even use it. So apparently there is a limit to only 8,000 contacts, and I'm at 37,000 on my phone. So there's no problem there. Wow. Let's go to Heinecke. Heinecke, I want to pop you on. Heinecke, you got the mic? Go for it.
Hey, Stu, I'm reading the book.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. I've been reading sales books for a long time, so it's a nice thing that you got going. So, and it got my brain working. My question is, I'm a sales exec for one of the largest CBD manufacturers and ingredient suppliers in the country, possibly in the world. And we already supply quite a few of the consumer-facing brands that are out there. But I have identified anywhere between 50 and 100 of the companies that aren't buying from us currently. And I just I want to put aside maybe $1,000, $2,000, something like that, and do a contact marketing campaign. Just want to see if you had I don't know, any cool ideas, anything that I can kind of think about when I'm doing that.
Yeah, well, and by the way, first of all, thank you for buying the book. I love it. I'm glad that it's having a great effect. As authors, that's what we want. If you tell us that, we're happy. So thank you for that. But
of course,
so you have the classic contact marketing case. You have 50 companies, 50 maybe 100 companies that you want to break through to. And if you're going to spend 1,000, you might spend more. But here's where you could go with this. I see I see the nature of personalization changing a lot, and personalization is a big part of these content marketing campaigns, or the most successful ones tend to include personalization. It doesn't have to, but it tends to include personalization. So I'm seeing this sort of split in what personalization is. When I started out creating direct mail campaigns, I just needed to know your name. I just had to have the correct spelling of your name, and then the right address to send it to, and I could do something with cartoons. I mean, we do. Here's something that I do with cartoons, the personalization and cartoons, and so I just need to know that I just need to know how to spell your name, and I need to have, I guess, some sort of persona in mind. So if I was doing this for Forbes, then I would be, or actually any business publication, I would be probably celebrating your success in business with you in the cartoon. So it's just sort of that persona thing that I need to know. Well, personalization. So I call that wide personalization. We can get a list of 2 million. I mean, like in the case of Forbes, they were mailing 2 million pieces at a time. Wow. So that's a pretty broad use of personalization. But there's another sort that I identified in this guy. Sorry, I'm just telling you where it is. You don't have to go get it, but just telling you where it is.
You want us to get it. Don't say.
No,
You're obviously really a writer, not a sales guy. Come on.
I know I'm not hawking my books. We're just talking. So, so the other side of this is deep personalization, and that came about or became possible because of the internet and then social media. So we can do profile scrapes pretty easily. You could do it manually, or you can use a tool like Seamless. There are probably a lot of tools at this point. Seamless is a nice one, seamless.ai. And so based on those profile scrapes, we can do all kinds of things. I mean, one thing we can do, even just with, let's say their profile picture. In fact, I have to get up and get something, but one of the things we can do is we could take their picture and do things like that. You can create a card. So here, this is actually from a training video that I was just putting together this thing. So I made up a bunch of these. So here's this fictional character, Sue Smith, and we took her profile picture and applied this engraving effect in Photoshop. And suddenly it looks sort of like, it's not quite the way that they draw it, but sort of like what it looks like in the Wall Street Journal. And here's another one that I did that. So I placed her right in the middle of a story. I've actually about having a meeting with Sam here. So this whole story that surrounds her is about her taking a meeting with Sam. So I think that's pretty cool. But now let me grab something real quick. I got to get up.
Yeah, what is Seamless? The world's best sales lead is Seamless.
Yeah, so they use AI and you can do profile scrapes in seconds.
Wow.
So it'll search a lot of different sources, kind of like Cove, with the description of Cove, yeah. I think. But so here's one. There was one really, really amazing campaign that was done based on a profile scrape. The company wanted to connect with a lot of sales enablement people, and they were going to go to a trade show. So they decided what they would do is they'd go to each one of their we'll call them top accounts or top prospects, to their accounts. They downloaded their pictures and they had bobblehead dolls. Here's one supposedly of me. Maybe if I take the glasses off.
It's kind of got it somewhere.
But so they made bobblehead dolls for each of these people, and they invited them to their booth, and they had this whole table full, like 150 bobblehead dolls based on profile scrapes. Those are really cool. But you don't have to do that. I think you can also follow just the example that I see a lot with sales reps that are using deep personalization and profile scrapes. And what they're doing is they're just finding out, well, what's this person into? What's happening in their lives? And they'll craft a gift and send it to them. One guy did that. He discovered that I'm shortening this story a lot, but he discovered that his quarry, the guy that he wanted to reach, was really into falconry. So he sent a falconry glove and broke through. Another one, this guy was really into cooking and technology and family. So 2 out of 3, he had an apron embroidered with a Stanley C. Clarke quote about technology sufficiently advanced will appear as magic. And so had that embroidered on an apron and sent it to him, got right through. And these were prospects that that no one in the company was able to break through to before. So I would be focusing, it's the simplest thing. You don't have to have a formal campaign all set up. Just start scraping profiles of these people.
But it's
and come up
important.
with the right thing to send them.
You're making sure that there's a return receipt, that they've signed for it, it's been delivered. You must have a time parameter after they get it, how many days you call after. You have a formula, don't you, Stu?
Well, I send a lot of, I mean, I rely on FedEx actually. So,
Okay.
you get a lot of updates.
But what's your time parameter? After they sign it, do you call them the next day, the next hour? What's your idea?
That's a good question. And I mean, when I'm sending, let's say the big boards, so maybe I'll show you an example of that in a moment. But when I'm sending those things, I want to wait a day or two because I don't know whether it's being delivered directly to them or
That's right.
been delivered to the mailroom, and I don't want to call too early. But another thing that happens is that I should show what these look like. When I'm reaching out, this is my favorite device. So it's a big board, and this is what it looks like. So it's 18 by 24 inches, quarter-inch thick. It's my usual personalized cartoon about the recipient. And then on the back, branding, the messaging from the sender to the recipient explaining why they should meet and next steps. And that gets sent in this packaging. So it's corrugated cardboard with cartoon art all over it. And that's where the air bill goes. And it's got crushed stones, but they open it up and there it is. So
Wow.
the thing that's really cool about that, a lot of cool things about it. People will keep them in their office the rest of their careers. But the really cool thing about it is we call first and talk to the executive assistant, if there is one, and we'll say, hey, I'm Stu, or I'm so-and-so, and I'm calling because I'm sending a print of a cartoon by one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists. It's about your boss. And the assistant is usually saying, what, really? And so, yeah, but so, I want it to be a surprise to your boss, not to you. Would you mind if I send you an email with the details? And no, here's my email address. Here's how you reach me. So that's 2 touch points. Then they'll send a cartoon card. This guy, so this one, it's about coffee. Like that, it's staying in. I gotta remember what it says now. Oh, now so-and-so is buying a cup of coffee. Is anyone writing this down? Let's hurry up and buy our coffees first. And I use that. I know it doesn't say thank you, but inside it does. It says thank you so much for your help. And there's a Starbucks card. So and then we'll have the FedEx tracking information and we get that out to the assistant. So by the time the thing arrives, there are 4 touch points with the assistant. And that's hugely significant because they quarterback the campaign internally. They make sure that the boss gets it. So you could even work with the assistant to find out when the boss actually saw it.
I love that.
But I think there are other, there's the one thing I think is really interesting about your question about timing and when to call. There's a scene in the movie Hitch. Have you seen Hitch?
You mean the old
with
movie?
Will Smith?
Yeah, Will Smith a long time ago. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a long time ago, and he's kind of a contact marketer in a way, but for helping people connect romantically. And so they showed a classic scene of a contact marketing campaign unfolding when he sent by courier. He had a courier go there and deliver it to his love interest, Eva Mendes, and he delivered a box. And in that box was a walkie-talkie, and it was turned on. Well, obviously, you're not going to wait a couple of days. He was waiting on the other end. So as soon as she picked it up and said hello, he's there saying, "Hey, look, essentially, let's go out on a date." And if she said yes, the courier had a second box, a wetsuit. But the thing is that walkie-talkie is a device that I know people are using to create those connections. And so obviously you want to know when it's delivered and you want to be present.
I love it. I love it. Let's
Yeah.
go. I want to do a question from James Mandel. Hey, James.
Hello.
Hey, there's James.
Hey, buddy. Look at that
Hi, James.
setup behind you. There's a lot going on in that room.
I have to reframe it because there's a whole collection of ray guns and laser beam items up above on the next shelf. That's my home studio. Hi, Stu. I so enjoyed seeing you on Saturday and
Oh,
today
thank you.
as well. I wish I could draw. I tried many years ago because I was living in a tiny apartment across the street from School of Art in New York,
Oh,
and enrolled in life drawing classes, which made it worthwhile going across the street and getting a cup of coffee for $1.
yeah,
Um, but
perfect.
more to where we are at, I had a couple of questions. One of them has sort of been answered, which is the gap in the generations that we have that's been exacerbated by the fact that we can't really hand a business card to anybody these days, all the more so because of the explosion of remote business that's going on, including for mine. The business that I'm launching, that that I launched on March 9th, was when I made my stage debut as a uh, uh, as um, a conference entertainer and speaker. And
Good
that was
timing,
the
James.
day before the NBA canceled canceled its season and started this whole thing going. I got that one show in, and that was 2 years of work. So we're switching the whole thing to online, and now I need to to reach bookers, talent agents who are speakers bureaus, et cetera, and make a case for my unique way of presenting the material I do, which is a multimedia show that's not just speaking, but is all based around science fiction,
Hmm.
love of, and all original music and music videos that I've created for it. So it's a real show. It's
Oh,
not just a talk. And one of the things that's come up in the last couple of minutes is this concept of sending these custom and sometimes incredibly expensive gifts out. And I have trouble wrapping my head around the concept of spending that kind of money to be interpreted by someone who says, oh man, that's the worst kind of pandering. I hate that. I don't want to talk to this guy. Balanced with something that'll resonate, that maybe that looks more homegrown or something like that. I mean, in my case, I was thinking about, well, maybe I can custom print something cute on a little flying saucer toy that you wind up and runs across the desk or something like
But you
that.
want something, James, that resonates with you and also resonates with the person. So it speaks volumes of who you are, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
idea. So James, why don't you just quickly explain what your new niche is when it comes to entertainment?
Well, I've combined a love of sci-fi and a positive attitude of the future with an inspirational talk about that. And so my show, which is a 1 hour show, is all around the extraordinary things that are coming our way, some of which are just
hmm.
around the corner, some of which are further out, and some of which are just outrageous concepts that I've then turned into a kind of quasi rock musical and comedy that I produce and sing to live to pre-recorded
Wow.
videos on stage. It's a
How
show.
cool is that?
Wow. That's amazing.
So it's a niche, and I call myself the sci-fi rock guy. And it's a niche that I hope that I own entirely, and that I want to make known because no one knows about it yet.
Well,
Okay.
and you want to connect with bookers, though.
Yeah, I want to connect with, yes. And I have a
So,
fabulous website, and I've done all the groundwork for this thing. Now it's time to market it.
you know what I would think would be really cool, actually. And so you're right. I talk about, all these, cupcakes and these guys, and it looks like all I'm about is sending trinkets. And that's not what I mean it to be. And actually, I think one of the things that would be really cool for you is to set up a series of roundtables, and you talk to these bookers about, it's because everything's changed in their business. So what's possible now? Because what you're talking about makes it very possible. I mean, I think it's all possible. I think what you're saying is it's very possible in a forum perhaps like Zoom. Is that correct?
Sure, but the
Can I
idea
real
of
quick, James?
actually,
James, I want to say something that's really, really important. I've lost about $300,000 to $400,000 in bookings because of events being canceled or not moving forward. And as I start to really dive into this, I'm starting to realize that the booking agencies, the actual organizations, the speakers bureaus, they may not come back. They're
quite possible.
screwed. So what I did is I took many of the people Jim Quigg, Dave Asprey, Alice Levine, Eric, the guys that have become are the big $1 million speakers. And I've created a consortium of them called Podium, and we now represent one another. So what you might want to do is go and say, who are the guys or speakers that are non-competitive, but are moving in the direction that you want to go into, and you fill a gap that they don't have.
Well, the
Because
first thing I want to do is send a little box of cash to each one of you guys that you just mentioned.
I'll tell you, it's shocking because someone like a Jim Quick, I mean, he makes over $1 million speaking a year. All that's gone. A lot of these people, they survive on speaking. And it's Allison Levine, $35,000 a speaking gig. She does 5 speaking gigs a week. Gone.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just saying, where you're at right now, James, is actually a really good place. Because all these booking agencies, they're not your target anymore. It's the ones that have been booked. The ones that have the speaking gigs, meet with them.
Okay, maybe I should speak with you personally about that in regards to getting a leg up with the people that you're speaking to currently. But I understand what you're saying, and I agree. I think the Speakers Bureau, even back then, were something that you went to once you established yourself as a speaker to be much more attractive to them in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to hijack this. I'm just going to tell you what's really interesting. Many great speakers. So you guys know we have the people that, Stu, you're a very good speaker and you wrote a book. That's good, okay? Because uniquely at times, someone wrote a book and they're not that great. So the book positions you, which is awesome. So you get the speaking gigs because of the book. And then when you get on stage, they go, oh, this guy's horrible. Well, you're not that type of guy. But what I found is someone like a Jack Canfield. He's an AA, written the Chicken Series books, and he's actually a really great speaker. So what they do is they go and get a Jack Canfield as the lead, and then the people that are really good on stage that don't have that name recognition yet, they follow, and everyone goes, oh my God, that person was shockingly great. But they go off, so all these not well-known speakers are paying for a Jack Canfield to be the lead, and they all follow Jack at these events. So they're literally putting their money together to get a Jack to open up the event, to bring the audience, so they get discovered. And this is kind of a newer model that's happening. I'm seeing it constantly on Zoom calls, where Jack is getting $5,000 to open up a Zoom call, and all these other not well-known speakers are following, but now they're getting discovered.
That's incredible.
So just, again, I'm not trying to hijack this conversation. I apologize, guys. We have other questions.
You have great knowledge. Could I just ask one question?
Sure.
Has there been a shift at all to doing a lot of these events? It seems like there's been a big shift to doing these events online. Is that
so? Right now, for me, my first speaking, actually, all of us in Podium, because we talk about this, our first speaking gigs, and these are $1 million speakers. I really want to preface this. These are you know, I'm not there. They are. All of their booked crowd gigs start in September. Now, we don't know if a second COVID pops up. What's interesting is our international gigs are government sponsored. So we have to, not just us, but the audience have to fly the government sponsored plane, Singapore Air, Emirates Air. The audiences, the attendees have to fly the same airlines. So everything is controlled inside those spaces, which is fascinating to me. I've never seen this before. Yeah. We have to take blood tests before we get on, while we're on, and when we embark, we have to take 3 tests.
Wow.
The entire audience has to do the same thing. So the reason why is because Dubai says we need to get going, and conferences, and same thing with Singapore, are huge for us. And if we don't create a protective space, we're screwed. Now, Nashville and Vegas and all that, who knows? I think the governments, the local governors are going to determine the outcome of those spaces. But we're seeing September's our first speaking gigs. Do you have any gigs coming up, Stu?
Well, I mean, what I meant was that I'm doing a lot of things on Zoom. So, but I don't know if that's not really the same thing.
Yeah, they don't pay yet. And the only way they pay is what we're seeing is selling from the virtual stage. You know, selling a mastermind, selling people. So Eric Edmeades, who does Wild Fit, he speaks on these, like this right here. He sells a $29 weekly mastermind for health. And it's 2 live things in a week. And then if people like it, which he's got more than a 40% like rate where they upgrade, then it gets to $5,000. So bam, it pops up. So he's using all these Zoom events, like what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
He's on tons of them to sell the $29, let's try this, it's super cheap, then to upgrade them to the big ticket area. So high ticket sales are in that space. So as long as you have a product line that you can migrate to, Zoom is the best place because you could do these type of webinars all day long.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
well, that's interesting because that's right where I am. I'm just setting that up. I'm a little behind, but
we can talk about this, Stu, because I'm,
yeah.
matter of fact, he just texted me, Eric did. Let's see, he's saying first, oh, okay, he's doing something else. Hey, let's go to Andrew Perry. I want to make sure I get everyone's questions in here. I have a tendency to talk too much. I apologize, guys. Andrew, you have a question for Stu. Go for it.
Yes. Hi, Stu. Thank you very much for your insights here. I was wondering if you could share your thinking around applying this concept, applying this methodology to an early stage startup. So if there is no marketing budget, if there is no name recognition, and I'm trying to reach out to potential strategic partners for an ed tech startup.
Well, first of all, startups are in probably the most critical need for making connections quickly. I mean, I know you go into this and you have your network, right? But on the other hand, you need to connect with investors and
Absolutely.
And you got to get clients quickly and so on. So it's probably and your startups are in a burn rate. I think generally they start up in a burn rate situation, so they've got to go pretty quickly. I started to say this, and maybe it wasn't a good fit for James. I'm not sure, but I've started to say that roundtables are something that are a great way. They're a great device. You don't spend $1,000 on anyone. They're a great way to pull people into a discussion and bring them beyond that. The other one, though, I really like the use of deep personalization and profile scrapes, and using, as I was saying, I mentioned the example of the guy who was really into falconry and sending a falconry glove, and it just melts the ice.
Right.
I'm not here to sell anything, so I'm being very careful not to bring up my stuff.
But you can tell. What do you want to sell?
So I'll just say real quickly that one of the things that I do a lot, and my clients have asked me to do this. They've asked me to set up editable PDFs of cards. So I showed this card before. That's a thank you card, and then one of my favorites. I use this cartoon when I don't want to say all the time because it sounds like my proposals are always stuck. But when you have a stuck proposal, I love sending this cartoon. It's saying, "Hey, listen, we got your proposal. And we like everything except having to pay you." And so, it's just when you send someone, not that, but there are others. There's another one here that is meant for actually. So it's a set of five cards, and they each have a mission to accomplish. Here's one that I send if someone's not returning my phone call. So this one's, "Hi Bob, it's me again. Listen, I don't know if you've been checking your voicemail all last week, but I'm still here at the same number waiting for your call." And so there he is, stuck at the phone.
Those are awesome.
So those things, they're devices they're my go-to devices. I've used them my whole career actually, and so there's anyway, that's called Bottomless Box. And if you wanted to know about it, I'd be happy to talk to you.
This is your opportunity. Yeah. Okay, so Saturdays you can't sell. Whatever you want us to look at that you're working on, please tell us.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I'm setting that up there's a bonus course to help you create all these different desktop actually contact campaigns that you can run from your desktop. So it's about using those profiles, these guys, the profile scrape, the pictures, let's say, and turning those into cards. And then also the bottomless box cards, the cartoon cards. And
have you seen any change in how effective these physical props are in the current situation with COVID and all?
Well, the only challenge is that you don't want to send it to someone's office address. At least not. You don't want to send it at all, I think, at this point without asking. But and then asking, well, where do I send it? And then people are happy to give you their home address. And so for that part of it, I haven't seen any problem. As long as people say, I mean, as long as you're saying, well, listen, I'd love to send a copy of my book.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to get it? And if so, where do I send it? And the book is a really innocuous thing to send to someone. But if it's your book, then it's not quite so innocuous. They're going, hey man, that's really love your stuff. So I don't. Has any of that helped at all?
Yeah, this all helps.
Thank you.
Okay.
You should check
very
out
much.
something called Crystal Knows. Have you seen that before?
Crystal knows. No.
So it uses 36,000 data types. So when I type in your name, and it sits inside tools like LinkedIn and all that, it will tell me everything about you before I even meet you. What drives you, what makes you depressed, what accelerates you, how to write an email to you. So as I'm writing the email, it changes my verbiage to match exactly what gets you excited. It's one of the most impressive AI. Crystal Knows. They're based out of Harvard. It blew my mind what it does. And it tells where I would have conflicts with you, where I could resolve it. It's one of the most impressive tools ever. Every HR person I show, they flip out when they see it. Hey, let's take one more question, and I'm going to go to Stephen Harms. Stephen, what is your question, buddy?
Hey, Stu. Thanks for being here
Hi,
today.
Steven. Hi there.
So I've made somewhere between, I'm not a lot of money, but for a professional singer, I've made somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million as a professional singer.
Very nice.
I sing opera, but all of my music, the reason I've made that money is because I sing live. And we're done.
Okay.
It's not coming back.
Yeah.
So I know how to get the connections and the relationships for recordings and things like that. How do I know who I should be reaching out to? And how would I reach out to people that want it for live stuff, if indeed that's the thing? The other thing is I'm also pivoting and becoming much more of a teacher online and teaching people how to sing and breathe and laugh and just be happier in life through singing.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So I was just wondering if you had any insights into that.
Well, that is figuring out who it is you're going to reach is kind of a thing you have to be observing in your own life, I think. And who are you selling to? Who's being responsive? And then where can I find more people more people in that situation? I thought you were going to ask, well, how do I pitch my singing? Because I was going to tell you about Vidyard or Bomb Bomb or something. But so you can sing, you can record personalized videos and pop them into an email. Sure. And send them out. But so you sing live, and how were you getting your gigs before?
Actually, I audition every year. I've been singing for the LA Opera, the Philharmonic, the LA Master Chorale for 20 years.
Oh my God.
And I just prove to them every year that I can continue to do it, and they keep hiring me every year to do it.
That's incredible. But you were saying though that the kinds of gigs that you were getting are not happening at the moment.
They're going to stop. They're done. They've already canceled the Philharmonic season all of next year for 20 through 21.
Really?
The Master Chorale season is probably going to be canceled as well, as long as the opera. I'm looking at no income. I'm looking at the possibility that I will not perform live again for another 2 or 3 years.
So I've got a friend who he sings. I mean, he's in a couple of bands, sings the blues, and he's in sort of the same that situation. At least he's not with the Philharmonic. That's incredible. I have a really interesting story I might be able to tell you later about the LA and the Israeli Philharmonic.
I would love to connect and hear about that. That would be fantastic.
But so the thing is that, they started doing drive-in concerts, and I don't know that that's ever going to happen for the Philharmonic, though. It's a different audience altogether. But I love your idea about pivoting to lessons and online courses, because those are the kinds of businesses that you'll make money while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm working toward with my training sessions as well, is to be able to sell it on YouTube. I mean, just ads on YouTube, or really any social media platform, bringing them to either a recorded webinar, and it converts, it brings them into there's a whole funnel process.
Right. Well, other than trying to reach individually through social media and stuff like that, I mean, where would the people be that would say, yeah, we're going to take your content and do this with it?
You mean the training content?
Yes.
So I'm thinking, I'm thinking about individuals, and you can target on YouTube. You can target the kinds of videos that they're watching, and I guess sort of figure out who might be who might
That's a
enjoy.
great
learning to
idea, by
sing.
the way.
Sorry?
That's a great idea, doing targeting pre-roll on people that are looking at how to sing or singing lessons and doing a 10-second or a 15-second pre-roll. That's a great idea. Someone just says, I got a great Facebook marketer. That's Brandon, who could help you out with that. So why don't you connect with
good.
Brandon? Stu, I wanted to thank you for making time for us today. And I hope to see you on other metal events. We do them throughout the entire week. Every day, actually. Actually, Stephen does a vocal class on Wednesdays where he teaches people how to sing.
Nice. Nice.
So all these great things. Again, Stu, people want to hunt you down and find you. Where do they go?
Best place to find me is on LinkedIn, actually. I mean, unless you're talking about the books are everywhere. They're all, wherever you can buy books. You can buy them.
I'm going to send you a
LinkedIn.
personality background from what I rip when I do a crystal nose off you. Wait till you see what that looks like.
I want to see that. That's fascinating. That is
I will.
fascinating. Hey, Ken, thank you so much for having me on. I really
Everyone
appreciate
unmute
it.
yourself and let's all thank Stu. Come on, everyone unmute yourself, please, and let's all thank
Thanks,
Stu.
Stu.
Go for it.
Thank you, Stu.
Thanks, Stu.
That was
Right on,
great.
Stu.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Stu.
Appreciate it.
Great guy.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Right.
Join us
Bye.
for more.
Bye, everyone.